first two words in Genesis that describes woman. In Genesis 2:18, I will make a helper suitable for him. And that phrase in Hebrew for helper suitable, it's Ezer Kenegdo. And I learned this when I was studying in Israel, and it literally bent my brain.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a different creature before this and after it, because that word helper, I'm from rural Mississippi.
Come on.
Deep South.
Yeah.
You know,
right,
we put sugar in our tea.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sugar in our
Fry
grits.
everything,
you
baby.
know,
Fry everything, butter.
and very
butter
much
everywhere.
conservative, just rural church. And so a helper out of my world, my Southern world, is someone secondary. The secondary helps the primary. The helper helps the main one.
They're subservient.
It's subservient.
Right.
Subservient secondary. And Ezer in Hebrew, it essentially means helper, aid, or strength, but it's a very strong word. And it carries the idea of strengthening someone in a way they cannot do for themselves. And what just bent my brain and like changed my whole soul the moment I learned this was that throughout the Bible, like usually when we see this word Ezer, it's a word that God uses to describe himself in relation to Israel.
Yep.
And
Yep.
And we would never say that God was secondary to Israel.
Sure.
We would say God helped, aided, and strengthened Israel in ways she could not do for herself. So I'm sitting here going, time out.
Stop, wait.
Time out. The first word that God chose to use in the narrative of the Bible to describe woman is a word he uses to describe himself.
That Eve was made to be a helper for Adam, but the reason behind that translation choice might be androcentrism. In English, we read in Genesis 2 that God sees Adam alone and says, I'll make him a helper suitable for him. But the word that's used for helper there is Ezer, and its meaning is much closer to rescuer. Because in English, the word helper generally implies subservience, someone helping from below. But in the 20 times that Ezer's used in the Old Testament, it always refers to some kind of emergency rescue, like when David's on the run for his life and says that my Ezer is in the Lord. Now, there is some overlap between the ideas of help and rescue, but one emphasizes Adam and the other emphasizes Eve. And when you have theologians in the 1500s like John Knox who are saying that it's their mission to battle the monstriferous empire of women, I don't think it's a stretch to suggest that maybe the translations of Genesis that were happening at that time might have been influenced by that agenda.